And I'm gonna get started. So yeah, this is how to build your listing and or buyer presentations using KWCommand. So if you haven't been in Command in a while, and you should be, uh, they introduced a whole slew of templates that you can use to build your listing and buyer presentations now. And you can access these from the design tool. So if I go under my designs, we're going to go ahead and just click where it says create design. And before I even go into that, so let's click print. We're going to hit continue. I just want to go over a couple quick items through the design tool that I think are going to be very important. So the couple of things that you'll see up here is my designs and assets. So later on, we can actually access our designs through here. You know, if at any point we need to go ahead and reuse something or access a design we put together in the past, you can always get a hold of it here. Now, the one thing that I also wanted to just go over, if we go into assets, so assets is going to be important because this is where we can build our branding. So for example, I use very specific colors, or there's a headshot that I'm going to be reusing at all times, or even logos. So maybe I'm going to upload my own custom logos. You can upload that and change all that here. So when you're putting together any design template, all those assets will appear there by default. So you don't have to re-upload anything. I know a question I get often is, how do I get my headshot to appear? Or I uploaded these photos and they're not in this design. So the reason why is because every design will essentially be its own unique design or own unique template. By uploading your own assets, however, that will have those appear globally. So if I'm putting together a flyer or a social media graphic and I want to reuse a photo or some sort of logo in the future, you want to upload it here. Let's just use an example as a color palette. So for my main color palette, I have nothing selected thus far. So that means that if I'm going to be using any sort of colors, they'll just be defaults. Let's say there's like a color that I want to have appear in my designs by default. We'll just go ahead and I use this little off bluish color, almost gray. It's one of my signature colors in any of my designs. So set that up. Let's go ahead and put a nice little off pink as well. So these are kind of like my branding colors, let's say. As far as images goes, we can always add our own images as well. That can be stock images. It could be just any sort of image that I want to have appear for all of my designs. The headshot, you can also add your headshot here as well. So if we wanted to upload our own headshot, we can just drag it in, drop it in, whatever we wind up doing. As far as logos, that's where I can upload my City Views logo or any logo that I want to use going forward. And then I don't usually mess around with the elements or video stuff, but you could add those as well. As far as files go, I believe this might just be a place that you can just kind of organize files. I don't use this as well, but these three, you might wind up using quite often. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our templates. And this is going to be the template library. So this is where I'm going to be able to access any of those print materials. So that also includes the presentation files. So let's go ahead and just use one as an example here. So we're working with a seller and we need to provide them or want to provide them with some sort of listing material, just kind of like a value add to showcase my services. So let's go ahead and click listing. And you'll see here that we do have a drop-down menu and listing presentations right here. And as far as I'm aware, they've been adding some of these templates quite frequently. So there is 5 of them now. There used to be only 2. So you could choose from a few of these. And I'm just going to use this one as an example. I like this one. And again, this is going to be your template. So you can do whatever you want with it. So after it loads, we're going to be brought into our design template here. You'll notice that it is built with 29 pages by default. Now, if you've used this tool in the past, you've noticed that beforehand, you essentially had to manually drop in the pages that you want to use. And for some agents, that was a little bit cumbersome, understandably so. So they did give the 29 pages uploaded into the template by default. And I could always just go ahead and delete these. I don't need to use all these pages. So as I see fit, I can go ahead and just delete these. This is the, could be like a cover page. I can just edit this out a little bit. Save that, boom. So you see here, page 2, as I'm kind of going through here, you'll see that all the pages will appear in this little list view. We can slide that out as well. Now, let's say I wanted to add or duplicate additional pages. You can do it 2 ways. You could use the template pages on here because it does give you all those pages again if you want to reuse them. You can also go in, click that drop down, and I could essentially duplicate the pages if I needed to. So maybe it's going to be a template for testimonials or featured listings. You can use these as you see fit. Now let's just kind of zoom in a little bit. I want you to see some of the details here. So here, we're just going to use this front page as an example. So you'll see that all these elements I can click into, and they're all editable. So I can click here where it says typewriter, and I can type up the pages. I'll just put my last name in there because it's me. There you go. Maybe it's predicting I'm going to marry somebody named Maria. In any case, you can see that I can easily edit the text. I can also edit the fonts if I want. I'm not necessarily going to do that. I do like the defaults. I typically recommend keeping the default fonts there because this is kind of built with the purpose of kind of being already done for you. So just by editing the text, that's just making your life a little bit easier. I can drag and drop my images in there, and we can also change the first name, which is going to be me. And we can also do the last name as well. And I'm using this typewriter tool as a shortcut. Now you could obviously, or I shouldn't say obviously, I would say that you can also double click on the text and you can edit it that way as well. I just prefer the, I do prefer to use the typewriter tool just because it's a little bit faster. And again, it's just trying to make this as easy as possible for you. All right. Additionally, if I am, moving the text around, there is going to be those little grid lines there. You see there's like purple. Those are going to be your guides. So if you're trying to get things lined up or as straight as possible, use those guides as a help. So this is going to help you out a lot. You see how it all matches up. Boom, we're all set. And then I'm just going to drag my logo over. Actually, we don't want to use that one. We'll use this white one here. There we go. Boom. I'm just going to drag that up a little bit, match it up. There we go. Awesome. And then again, I'm just using a typewriter tool. I'm going to edit this. This is going to be for the market center. So as you can see, a lot of this is just going to be filling in the blanks because the template is already done for you. You're just kind of going in there. You're going to say like, oh, I got to change out my information. There we go. Boom. Looks good. And I can also edit the information here. This is going to be the agent info. Again, just kind of go into the typewriter tool. Put my website in there. Oops. Change the email out. Put my agent site will leave out there. And then we're just going to put my phone number in. There we go. All right, so essentially we got most of the template completed here. This is already good to go. So this is just page one. Now, what I can also do is I can continue to go through all these additional pages. So there is about 28 pages here. And each one's going to be outlining a different thing within the template. So here it's going to go over the property, your guide, custom marketing plan, and representing your home. So the good thing about this is that a lot of this is already pre-filled. So here, this would just be a page about the property. Here we go into more of like the neighborhood statistics. So this would be, for example, if I'm going to somebody in Fort Lee, I might showcase some information about the Fort Lee area. Now, I don't necessarily need to use this. Maybe I want to omit this for now. You can easily delete it. And then if I needed to re-add that, it'll be in the templates here. So Veronica's asking, where do you get that info? It's a good question. They do have some of the stats here under KWLS specifically for the neighborhoods. As far as like some of that other information goes, it might just be doing a Google search. And that would be just more specific about the neighborhood information, like what type of, could be like what restaurants are in the area or average days on market. A lot of that stuff will be accessible through here. For some of the more common information, like if I go into templates again, let me just pull that back in so we can see. Yeah, so it says Barton Hills is an extremely desirable neighborhood. I mean, a lot of this kind of seems also like more like subjective. So, it could just be like putting your own personality into it and just talking a little bit about the area. We also notice here, based on the analysis of recent successful sales, they're most likely interested in hardwood flooring. So this information specifically, that would be more like you're probably going into the MLS and doing comps, and then you're seeing what type of features the homes have all in common. That's very specific. Again, that's why I was saying it might be something where you just have to kind of go into the MLS a little bit and look into that. But otherwise, under the KWLS here, if I wanted to just find a quick snapshot of Fort Lee, we can just do here 07024. And that's going to generate one of those cards that's going to give me the comps, or not the comps rather, but the average days on market, what the average home price is. So here I can just drag that all in. And then this is also updated quite frequently. So these stats here may change, but in any case, you can see it just essentially me dragging and dropping that in. And then I can kind of edit this information as well if I wanted. Okay. Boom. Cool. Yeah, so I see that answered your question. All right, so I'm kind of moving through this. You can see here as I'm going through, I mentioned that a lot of these pages are going to be kind of pre-written for you. So like as an example, so this is going to be kind of like the value proposition. And as I'm going through, it's going to kind of mark over the process. So from the point of view of a seller, and this is something I actually went through myself. So I know like kind of the process at this point, and a lot of this stuff has definitely happened. So going through this with your customer, I find this to be super important. So you want to let them know like, hey, this is what's going to happen. Again, this is going to be a needs analysis. Then you're going to sign the listing agreement. Then we're going to prepare the home for staging or photography. Maybe we're going to get it cleaned out because we're getting rid of the furniture and all that stuff. Launch the coming soon campaign if that's going to happen. And then you can see here, you're going through essentially all these different steps with that seller, and you're going to kind of outline this all them for that. And this is literally everything that I've been going through myself. So right now we're going through negotiating any of the issues. We're overseeing the appraisal, coordinating and prepare for further inspections. So I think right now we're kind of in like the final walkthrough phase in regards to my selling process. And I find that all these steps are hugely important to go through with your seller, especially if they aren't, maybe they haven't sold before. So again, this is a huge value add, and this is already put together for you. Then it's going to go through the seamless way to sell, and that's going to just have some information about my consumer app, and this would be something that you can also share with your clients. Then it's going to go into some of the marketing plan. So again, this is also going to be pre-generated for you. And I feel like a lot of this stuff you're already going to be using. You're going to be putting together your flyers and social graphics through Command. You may be putting together a Facebook ad. So a lot of that stuff is going to be outlined in the marketing plan. And again, it's nice to have it already put together for you. And I do like that it's very modern looking too, again, because I chose this template. There are a few others, but I think this looks pretty nice for what it is. Finding the buyer. So then it's going to go into some information about where you can find the buyers at. The open houses, friends or relatives. It could be going through the internet directly, which is a huge way to find home buyers, or going through the real estate agent. Then we're going into some of the marketing campaigns. Again, this is going to show you some of the marketing collateral that can be put together for this particular property. Again, already pre-done for you, so you don't really have to go through this too much. But if there's any verbiage or anything you want to change, it's just as simple as clicking through, and we can just kind of edit that detail here. And then I'm just going to keep going through. So again, like I mentioned, you might not use all these pages, but I feel like for the most part, a lot of this content is going to be super useful. So it's always good to have it. But maybe you're not doing a coming soon campaign. So you can always just delete this. So let's say I'm not doing this time around. We can just essentially omit it. I don't need that. And I'm going to lock this page down too, so I don't miss, so I don't kind of move it around while I'm selecting all the other stuff. It's not letting me, but it's okay. We're just going to do it like this. But you kind of get the idea. I'm essentially just kind of deleting what I don't need, or maybe I'm just going to keep that on, and then there we go. And if you're curious how I did that, on my computer, I did Command Z. So that's the undo button. There's also an undo button on the top, and you can do it that way. There's also a question in chat. Can I leave it just like that and do some changes? Yes. So as I was saying, if you wanted to just keep this here like that, you definitely can. It's already pre-done. But if I wanted to edit some of this, I can just go in and say like, coming soon call out campaign to highly qualified buyers. Maybe I'm going to do it on Facebook, or maybe I'm going to do it through on Facebook groups, because there's a lot of specialized groups on there now. Oh, it's already on there. So you can see, like, I can literally just go in and edit the details out, whatever I want. All right, so then we're getting into more of like the open house strategy at this point. So this is going to outline how the open house is going to work. Let's just take a look at these details. Placing a yard sign and directional sign on key corners. Yep. Getting on the phone at the morning to call anybody who will be attending, scheduling other open houses in the area, distributing flyers, personally knocking on your neighbor's door to invite them to attend and tell their friends. So again, it's going to have just a nice little outline for what the open house should be like. Again, if you're not going to be doing some of these things, you can just delete it off, or you can change it. And then we're going into the next page here. And oh, this is in the details. So again, this is going to be a nice little page, just again, outlining your marketing plan. So as I mentioned earlier, all these pages are going to be available to you right off the bat. So if you decide you're just going to go ahead and print this off, you'll already have these pages included. Again, there's going to be some pages that you might not necessarily need or want to use at that point. You can easily omit them. You can just delete them off. Like this one would be just kind of information about myself, and I would probably have to change this up a little bit because that's not me. But if I'm going to include a bio page, this would be a great page just to kind of edit. And then it's going to go into the numbers. So this could be numbers about my market center. It can also be numbers about myself. This is going to be numbers. I think it defaults to KWRI specific numbers. So this would just kind of give them an idea of like how KW is doing. But I can also get very specific, and I can say like, well, this is how our office is doing in Fort Lee, or whatever town I'm looking to kind of push out to. So these numbers you can also acquire from the MCA. So if you're working with the Fort Lee Market Center specifically, you can reach out to Patrick, or whatever market center you're in, just reach out to your MCA. All right, cool. So let's keep going forward here. You'll notice as I'm kind of going through on the right-hand side, there's going to be all additional pages. So this is credentials. This is going to be defaulted to KWRI specific achievements. Again, you can literally keep this the way it is, or you can change it. Maybe you want to add your own credentials and awards. Go ahead. You can edit this however you want. Leading the industry, that's going to be another KW value add specific page. Then it's going to go into some of my portfolio information. So if I have a list of properties I want to showcase here, you can definitely do that. And now if you had properties, let's go just to the featured listing section for a second. So a really nice thing about this, let's say I need to pull in data for a specific listing. Well, I could just go into where it says KWLS here, and we could look up listing data. And we'll just use that one as an example. Let's just go ahead and hit select. So listing data here, I have all the images. I can just kind of pull those in, and I can go to listing details, and we can just change the information on here as well. Boom, there we go. Listing price, I didn't see that here. Oh, there it is. So I can just kind of change that out as well. And I'm just using this as an example because you can just essentially search for any listing in here and you can pull that information in. Then there's a little bit of the verbiage, which is also included. We'll just go ahead and just pop that in, and it's going to be super hectic. So we're just going to delete most of that. Let's go ahead. And there we go. Awesome. And I can do the same thing for the other one, or I can just delete this and just use it for another image for the property. So maybe I just don't need to feature another listing. Maybe I only had the one that I want to show right now. You can go ahead and do that, and then you're good to go. Looked good. All right, so let's keep moving. We're going to go through some of the last few pages here. So this other page is going to be some of my testimonials, and the testimonials I can just grab from anywhere. I can copy and paste it in. And let's say I had more than 3 and I wanted to showcase an additional set. I can always just duplicate this page. And then I will add another page that I can then work off of. Here's the promise. So again, another value proposition here. The question in chat's asking if this is a listing presentation. Yes, it is. So this would be something I present to my seller. Here we go with some selling. This is just another value, just kind of going through some of the safety measures for COVID, virtual showing, socially distanced tours, contactless transactions. Good stuff. And then the last few pages, they're just going to be some additional, bottom line info. and then another kind of back page with my information. So I'll just edit this as well. Pretty straightforward. And as I mentioned, this template is going to be available to you right off the bat. So anything that I'm showing you right now, you have access to. And because this is already kind of pre-built, all I would really need to do is kind of tweak it or edit it however I want. All right, so I'm just kind of editing the last bits of details here. All right, awesome. There we go. And then all the other information here, I'll just kind of pop in. We're all good. All right. And then the last thing I want to do is just change out that logo, and we'll just do that here. Boom. There we go. All right, looks good. And then that's all I would need to do. So now the question is, how do I download this, or how do I print it? So there's a couple ways you can do that as well. So on the top button, you'll see here where it says download. You can download this as a PDF for printing, which means it's going to be a high-res quality. You can also include bleeds. So if you're going to be using this with a professional printer, they typically recommend that you have a bleed on there. So the bleed is essential, and you can hover over this, including bleeds. It helps you to avoid white gaps from printing to the edge. So essentially, when you're printing edge to edge, the bleed helps with just making sure that there's no white edges here. In the example of this page, it's completely fine without the bleed because there is a white border around it. So for a lot of these pages in general, I believe there is a white border. Yeah, you can see like this example, a lot of these pages are going to have a white border around them anyway. It looks cleaner. But if you're printing pages that it's going to go all the way to the edge, you want to make sure that there's a bleed there. It's just the way that these professional printers work. But in any case, if I want to just download this, I can go ahead and do that right now. I can download it as a print file. I can also download it as a smaller PDF in the event that I don't want to have a massive file. The other thing that I also like in here, if we click the share button, there's going to be an option to share this as a project file. And what that allows me to do, if we copy that link, we can actually open this up in a web browser. And you'll notice that it's almost like a booklet that I can scroll through online. And what that means is if I'm on a tablet, I can actually kind of scroll through it literally like a book. Or if I'm on my phone, I can do the same thing. I'm on my computer here, so I'm just clicking the arrows. But if I'm on my phone or a tablet, I can actually kind of swipe through like I would in a book. And I can use that as a way to view this without having to download it. The other thing that I think would be really cool is that if you're showcasing this in a home and for the purpose of maybe connecting with their TV, you can actually display this on a TV and you can do the same thing. It's pretty cool. And then with this link as well, they can also have the option to download or print this. So if they were going to download this or print it for their own record, it's a nice little tool here. And this is, again, all I'm doing is using this link. The other really nice thing about this link as well is that because it's a link that is essentially dynamic, if I make any changes to this presentation, this link will stay the same, but the presentation will update. So it's nice that it's a little bit of a interactive. Okay. So that's essentially how I would be building out my presentation. Now, if I click done, that's going to bring me back into my designs, and I can always access the design from my design applet here in Command. Additionally, we can go into create a design and we go to print again. Let's just do that as an example. And then we can go under my designs, and my newest design here, you'll see we'll have that design in place. And we can also just double click on it, brings me right back into my template. And I did see a question in the chat again. Do you put any information specific to a house you are trying to get a listing for? It's a good question. So you could, yeah. So like if you're looking at this page here, this will just be like some property information. And I think this is just kind of going over some of the features specific to that home. And you'll notice that it's showcasing something like your home is 10% larger than the average property sold in Barton Hills. Your home has the average number of bedrooms compared to the average properties sold. Your home has one more bedroom. So this could be a way to kind of showcase like, hey, these are some features that I think would help leverage your area in regards to selling. I can use an example for like my parents' house that we just sold. That house has a pool that's probably significantly larger than most of the pools in the area. So I find that to be a feature that would be something you may want to showcase. It could be even like, oh, your home has, you know, one or two extra bedrooms or a finished basement versus the average home sold in this area. So just think of stuff like that. You can also see the average sold price when it was last sold. This might be a way to kind of showcase like, well, it was last sold for $310 in 2010. Looking at the comps in the area, we can price your home probably $200K more. I think that's an accurate assumption from that year. But I don't know the area, so I would have to go through the comps, and that's what I think you can also showcase here. So yes, I think that would be a good like little value add there, especially with this page. You can just kind of edit the details right off of the page. I hope that answered the question. So if I could just go back and hit done again. Now, the same way that I did this listing presentation, I can do the same exact thing for the buyer presentation. So there are templates in there for the buyer presentation. And I'm not going to have enough time to go through it in great detail, but let's just go ahead and pull one up. We're going to go to buyer, and then we'll go to buyer presentation. And the aesthetic for these presentations are almost exactly the same as the listing presentations. So let's go ahead and hit use. So aesthetically, the presentations are almost exactly the same. The pages and the content is slightly different. So you'll see here, here's the pages. This one has 32, so it's quite a lot more. But we can go through here and we can do the same exact thing. We can take out whatever pages we don't think we'll need. Go ahead and we'll delete this one out. And then as we scroll through, you'll see essentially all the pages that are included. And there's an AFBA at the very end there. This one we can probably also delete. We do have that included with our group. So this one specifically, we can just kind of delete off of that. All right. So yeah, that kind of covered what I wanted to go over. Were there any additional questions before I jump out of here? Awesome. All right. The last thing I want to do is just quickly show our YouTube channel. So it's just Bergen County Partners. And if you've been in any of my classes or courses before, oof, what happened to my screen? Sorry about that. There we go. If you've been in any of the classes before, we do have all our videos being posted to the YouTube channel. So this is a great place to find anything that's been pre-recorded or previously live streamed. And this class specifically, I'll get up there probably a little bit later today. And you'll be able to rewatch that if you'd like. And if you haven't already subscribed, just go to Bergen County Partners on YouTube and you can click that little subscribe button when you see it. And you'd be good to go. All right, awesome. So I don't see any other additional questions in chat, so I'm going to get out of here. And if there's anything else that comes up, just feel free to reach out. You can email me or call or text. All right, everybody take care. Have a good Wednesday.